Hi everyone, today we are talking to Kristy, Medela's lactation consultant again, and this time we're talking about breastfeeding twins. So you're either expecting twins or you've just had twins, you're wondering how on earth you're going to feed both and how on earth you're going to manage. So we're here today to pick Kristy's brain. Hi Kristy, how are you?
Hi, good, thank you. Thank you again for having me.
Pleasure. Now, what are some of the most common concerns that you hear from mums who are expecting twins or who have just had twins?
Probably the biggest thing that you hear is, am I going to make enough milk for two babies? And this is also a concern for mums that have singletons as well. But you can imagine with two babies to feed, that worry is just escalated, and and it's very valid as well. Having two babies to feed, you are going to be busier. But actually what happens is that in the beginning, when you start to breastfeed, your body, your baby's stimulating your breasts.
Yes.
And they're switching on your milk supply. So that's all under the control of the hormones in the first few weeks after birth.
Right.
So once that process happens, once your milk comes in, now everybody's a little bit different at what stage all these processes happen differently in different people. But around the 2 to 4-ish week mark, the hormones back off a little bit and it becomes supply and demand.
Right.
So what your babies take from your breast, your body will actually make.
Yep.
So your body is really, really clever in knowing how much milk to make, because your babies are drinking that much milk.
Yes.
The important thing is to feed frequently in the beginning, to switch those milk-making cells on so that your milk comes in under the control of hormones, and then to continue to feed your babies as often and as frequent as they want to feed.
Yes.
And that will keep your supply up and robust and enough for two babies.
Right. Okay.
3 babies even. So
yes.
Yeah.
So when you say the important thing is to feed frequently in the beginning, what is frequently?
So the magic number for feeding twins is around the 10 to 12 mark. It is slightly higher than for a singleton.
Yes.
Because again, in the beginning, it's all about that stimulation. You want frequent stimulation, and your babies, the amount of milk that they get in the beginning, that your colostrum milk, which is their first food, which is like the medicine for them, it is in small volume, and they will need to feed frequently to get enough, but also to start that process of your milk coming in.
Okay.
And that's where all the hormones are involved.
Yes.
And you'll notice on around days 3 to 5 that your milk supply changes from being that colostrum milk to your more mature or your transitional milk.
Right.
But you'll feel, the terms are irrelevant. You'll feel your milk, your breast starting to become large and heavy, and you'll see your babies, their behaviour changing. They might start to slow down with their still frequent feeding, but slow down the voraciousness of it.
Yeah. Okay.
But 10 to 12 times per day from then on in, and it might even be more than that. So these are just guidelines.
Yes.
If your baby cues, it's important to feed them.
Yes. Okay. And so for expecting mums of twins who don't have babies yet, so they don't understand the cues or anything like that, I guess, how do they even, what can they do before having the twins to start preparing? Is it important to look at expressing to help support throughout? What's the best things for them to do?
Yeah, it's really important, I think, especially with twins, to try and educate yourself as much as possible before you have your babies.
Yes.
There's a lot of emphasis put on the birth and the birthing process, and while that's really, really important, that's kind of over and done with fairly quickly.
Yes.
Well, hopefully
very quickly.
it's over and done with fairly quickly. And then you've got years of breastfeeding after that. So try and find yourself a really good breastfeeding class. There's lots of information on our Medela webpage, so medela.com.au, about preparing for breastfeeding multiples, and breastfeeding in general. And then expressing, so with twins it's slightly different. You can almost predict that you may need a pump at some stage with twins.
Yeah.
With singletons, we recommend that you wait until you've had your baby before you buy your breast pump.
Okay.
But with twins, you're fairly certain that at some stage or another you're going to need one.
Yeah.
And that's whether they're born prematurely. You are at an increased risk of having your baby early if you've got a multiple pregnancy, or whether they're born slightly small, so they don't have the capacity or the strength to effectively feed.
Yes.
Or whether you are trying to boost your milk supply in those early days. So buying your breast pump beforehand is a good idea.
Yeah.
Getting to know your breast pump, getting to know how it works, the intricacies of that particular pump that you've bought, and getting that up and happening.
Ready.
Yeah.
So you've actually bought a longer breast pump today. Now might be a good time to actually quickly ask you about it. It's one of the newest ones from Medela, and I imagine would be a lifesaver for mums of twins.
Absolutely. And with mums of twins or any mum that is struggling with their breastfeeding, the best pump to get is a pump that you can actually do both breasts at the same time.
Okay.
So when you double pump, so expressing two breasts at once, not only do you cut down the time that it takes to express, so you're not doing one breast and then the other, but you're actually expressing up to 18% more milk each time you express as well.
Okay.
So there is that benefit of, you have a bit of a stronger hormone release when you stimulate both breasts at the same time.
Right.
So double pumping is key to mums that are struggling with with expressing or breastfeeding or their milk supply.
And sorry, that's not just for mums of twins.
No,
That's
absolutely. Any mum. Yeah. So definitely the time factor for mums of twins is really important. So any double pump, the Medela Freestyle Flex. We've got a Swing Maxi Flex as well. And then this is our newest one. So this has just been released on the 1st of October, and we're the first country in the world to receive it. So we feel pretty happy about that.
Exactly.
A bit special. And it's really easy to use. You just turn it on, and then you hit the play button, and you start your expressing session.
And you can hear that.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Those going now.
So with all our breast pumps, they start in a stimulation mode. I might actually just, for ease of demonstration, I'll just put that into it. So you can see that that's short little bursts of sucking there. And that's what your baby would do at the breast to start your milk to flow or to start your let down happening.
Yes, okay.
So all our breast pumps do this. This is phase 1 of the breast pump, so they automatically go into that stimulation phase. Then when you see your let down or you'll see your milk starting to flow, or sometimes you might feel a tingly sensation in your breast, then on the pump you actually hit the droplet buttons, and that actually changes the mode of the pump to longer, more drawn out sucking. And this is the expression phase, or this is when your baby would be drinking at your breast.
Right, okay.
So really simple to use. Now the benefits of this pump are that it's actually USB rechargeable. So you've got a USB port there, so you can charge it in your car, on your computer.
Yes, so it is fully mobile, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And so for parents for mums who have just come home and they do have twins or they're expecting, where do they even start? What's your advice on routines? Do you actually feed both at the same time? Is that generally the advice?
It's I guess it is individual, and everybody is slightly different in what they do, and it really depends on what you feel most comfortable with.
Yeah.
Some babies that are born a little smaller may need a bit more support for longer.
Yep.
So it might be that in the beginning you feed one baby at a time until you get the hang of it and until they get the hang of it.
Yeah.
And then once everybody's feeling comfortable, then you can feed both of them at the same time.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of twin mums do prefer to feed both at the same time because then they're both fed together, and then you've got time to
routines and time. I guess.
Routines with any baby, you find the beat of your own drum. There's no set, there's no right or wrong, and there's no something that you should be doing, or there should be sleeping here or they should be doing this, then just follow their cue, follow their lead, and you know, before too long you'll be thinking, oh gosh, it's 10 o'clock. They usually go down for a sleep there, and there you go, you've got your routine.
You fall into it without realising.
Yeah,
That's
you
probably
do.
one of the mistakes that I made actually when the children were younger. I read or when they were babies, I read a book on routines, and then I thought, well, that's how my child has to be. Because the book says every child is like that. But you learn quite quickly that they're actually not like that.
And it can be very anxiety provoking when we don't listen to A, our intuition, and B, what our babies are telling us. And when we are trying to fit into something that is being prescribed that doesn't fit your baby, you think you're doing it, you want to do it right, and you think you're doing it wrong. But there is no right and wrong. So just have the confidence that, you know, you're going to do it. You're going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the questions I had here, which we've kind of already covered, because it's one of the, I guess, more common questions that you said you receive is the milk supply and the concerns for milk supply. So obviously today we've gone through that and we've had a look at the Medela expressing. So for anyone who is wanting more information on any of this, they can go to the Medela website.
Absolutely.
That's the best place to go to.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got lots of education material. There's lots of scientific education material, but there's also really practical information for mums as well, and partners. We've got a Medela blog on the website. We've got material that you can download and print. There's lots of different things that you can access.
Okay, so that's medela.com.au. All of the links will also be on our website and also on the podcast page, so you can easily follow it through to find everything that you need. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.